Hello, a warm welcome to day one of our beginner's intro to Pilates. So you might be completely new to Pilates, or you might have dipped a toe but still want a little bit of reassurance and confidence in your skills, and that is exactly where I come in. I have created a PDF file for you which is going to break down each day and what we're working on each day, so feel free to kind of look ahead to that, print it off, use it or don't, it's entirely up to you, but that's kind of the schedule. Day one today we're going to be looking at posture in a standing position, and we're also going to be looking at posture laying down because they're kind of the basics and a really good place to start. So before we get going, if you want to grab a drink, a coffee, maybe bring your PDF with you and a pen so that you can make notes and kind of pause the video as we go along, so that if there's any questions that pop up, you can drop them in the comments at the end and we can discuss them and help you out. So let's begin up on our feet to look at our standing posture, which sounds a bit silly and a bit obvious, but you might have never really thought about how you're standing before. So starting from the bottom, working our way up, feet want to be forward facing in an ideal world. And we want to think about just gently taking your body weight forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards. This gives you time to go for nice wide toes, absorb weight through toes and absorb weight through heels. Taking a bit of weight through the balls of the feet as well on your way. So if you think about if you get out of the bath or the shower and you leave a wet footprint on the floor, that kind of stereotypical idea of a wet footprint that you have in your mind, they are your contact points with the mat. So there's a bit of a gap where your arch is lifting away from the mat, and we want that. That's what we want. We want a nice strong arch, because that helps us with our balance and with our directional change. So bringing your weight gently through to center, you've got weight in heels, balls of feet, outer edges, and toes in contact with the ground as well. I like to suggest a slight evening out of weight between the front and the back of the foot. Working your way up the body then, we get to our knee joints. And some of you have a tendency, some of us, I do too, have a tendency to push your knees back and lock them. So you just want to think softness at the knees, not necessarily over bending, but a gentle softness. We work our way up to the pelvis, and you may have heard this one before. We're taking hands onto hips. We're going to keep our nice soft knees and just begin to squeeze your bum and tuck your tailbone down, and then stick your bottom out behind you. So these are what we call our pelvic tilts or pelvic tucks. And we imagine we've got a bowl of water in the pelvis, and you're going to pour water out the front. You're going to pour all your water out the back of your pelvis, and to find your neutral pelvic position, that's somewhere in between those 2 points where your bowl of water feels full. There's nothing sloshing out the front or the back, and it might not be exactly in the middle. For me, I feel like I've got to do quite a big tuck to find my neutral, okay? And that is just dependent on your natural makeup. So we've got feet, we've got soft knees, we've got neutral hips. Pretty good start. We're going to relax through the hands and think about the spine itself. So we're thinking of that in 3 parts. The lower spine, that lumbar, we are going to think about lengthening that. So imagine it is growing out of your pelvic water bowl, okay, like a vine growing taller and taller. Same with the mid-back, that vine is going to continue growing taller, and with the upper part of your spine as well. Now people forget the neck is part of the spine, so to lengthen the neck, we're just going to draw our chin in slightly, so pull your chin back, and that should create some nice length at the back of your neck, and that's what we're after. So spine nice and tall, excellent. We're going to bring our shoulder girdle into position now. So think about opening across your collarbones. We think about this nice broad smile. The other nice teaching point for this is to think about a coat hanger in your t-shirt, okay? And again, that just gives you that nice lift. But the coat hanger idea also allows you to let go and relax onto that coat hanger. So that's a really nice, important tip as well. Just thinking about the ribs as well, because I think once we go into shoulders, people often overdo the shoulders up and back and down, and they get this lifting and flaring of the ribs. Now you might need to correct for that yourself. So I'm going to think about the ribs in terms of a big bell, okay? And you're going to kind of start to ring your bell forwards and backwards. So if I show you that from the side, it's like a forwards and a backwards tilt of your bell. And you can feel how your ribs kind of swing forwards and back, forwards and back. And I'm just going to ask you to bring that sound to quiet, to still your bell, okay? And that is a really nice tip for your rib cage. So we've still got coat hangers in t-shirt, but we've quietened our bell at the same time. We've got the chin pulling back and the neck tall. Lovely. Things to watch if you're looking in your mirror is your hand position. Quite often if hands are forwards in front of the legs, it's a sign that we've got a slightly rounded shoulder. So readjust your coat hanger. And if you can, bring your fingertips down towards the floor and palms turned inwards towards the body. So whilst we're still standing, we're going to have a go at core engagement. If you don't get it in a standing position, don't worry, we're going to work through this over the next 7 days anyway. But quick talk about our beeline. So I talk about in my classes, this beeline that runs left to right hip bone. Okay, so this could be like low slung knickers or low slung belts. Okay, and this is quite a lot lower down than your tummy button. Your tummy button's here, beeline runs across here, so just above your pubic bone. Okay, and that is really where we want to start targeting our abdominal contractions. This idea of drawing your belly button in is fine. It's a little bit outdated, and it's a little bit too high. We actually want to get this lower area. So I want to imagine that you're tightening your beeline, or maybe you've got that low slung belt and you're just tightening it up a few notches, and you get this drawing in, this contraction of beeline. So if that's working for you, fantastic. If not, don't worry, there's going to be more tips and cues along the way. The next tip I like to suggest for this beeline idea is left hip and right hip. Imagine that they're just starting to slowly travel towards each other. So they're traveling towards your middle, and that can sometimes give you that contracting and engaging kind of feeling. So gently relax and release. If you're going, gosh, what am I meant to be feeling here? I'm not sure. If you could take your hands on top of maybe a friend's shoulders, or if you've got a bookcase or something like that that you can pop your hands onto about shoulder height, you're just gonna then press down. So I want you to take some pressure down through your arms and just really get that push down, down, down. So you're holding, you're not moving, but you're holding on a surface. And you're going to push, and that bracing that happens there is your core engaging. Okay, so try and do that with the idea of drawing the beeline in. So as you push down on your shelf or on your friend's shoulders, start drawing in through your beeline, and that is the kind of strong core activation that we're looking for. Let's bring ourselves down to the mat now. I have got a head cushion here. Some of you will find a head cushion a little bit useful, quite a thin one, or a rolled up, folded up towel will be absolutely fine to go behind the head. We're going to come into what we call our crooked supine position. Supine just means on your back, okay? And the crooked element of this is we've got our feet walked in towards our bottom, okay? So again, if you're finding that uncomfortable, or maybe your chin is jutting up and the back of your neck is arched, then you're going to take some sort of cushion or folded towel underneath your head, and we're looking for that elongation at the back of the neck. When we were standing up, we thought about tucking our chin in a bit to find the length at the back of the neck. That's what you're after there. So make any adjustments you need to and come to your crooked supine position. I call this position Pilates rest posture. This is because it should be restful, okay? You should be happy here for a longish period of time. We're going to rest the hands by the side of the body and just turn the palms upwards. That just helps to release some tension in the shoulders. So from here, we're going to work into our pelvic tilts. You may have done a pelvic tilt before. I'm going to ask you to arch your back, your lower back, away from the mat to create a bit of a gap. Imagine I'm trying to slide my hands underneath your lower back there, and then gently back to neutral. What's neutral? It's your relaxed position. So arching your back again as if someone's trying to slide their hand underneath your lower back, and then release off, you're back in neutral. So arching the back and neutral. Again, arching the back and neutral. And can you tell how as you take that arch, your hips roll forwards? Can be quite helpful to take the fingertips onto the hip bones so that you can feel that pelvis tucking. That's it. So having a few more goes at this arching and neutral, arching and neutral, and notice how the pelvis rolls away from you. Back to neutral, and we're going to go the other direction. So start pushing your lower back into the mat. Keep the bottom on the floor, so we're not lifting the bottom, and then relax back to neutral. And again, push your lower back into the mat, and relax back to neutral. Push the lower back into the mat, return to neutral. Now try and do that without pushing through your feet so much. So as you start to push your lower back into the mat, your abdominals contract, your beeline draws in, and then you release to neutral. Again, push your lumbar into the mat, drawing in through the beeline. You need a light touch through the feet, and then gently relaxing back to neutral. And again, push your lower back into the mat, engaging beeline, light touch through the feet, and relax. And did you notice how your pelvis tilted the other way then? So this is how we get this lumbo-pelvic relationship, lumbar being lower spine, and obviously the pelvis being the pelvis. So as one moves, the other has to move as well. They move together, they have an impact on one another. So if one of those comes out of the neutral position, it by default will pull the other out as well. So whenever we talk about pelvic neutral or lumbar neutral, they're kind of one and the same thing, okay? So let's have a go at trying to keep our neutral whilst engaging the beeline. So nice and relaxed, neither arching nor imprinting, but can you then start to draw your beeline in? So drawing your left hip bone and your right hip bone towards one another, and then relax. Or maybe it's that idea of drawing and tightening your belts. That's it. So we're trying to emulate when we were pushing down on our shelf or on our friend's shoulders earlier on, trying to emulate that kind of bracing through the core. And remember, this isn't just drawing your belly button in, this is lower down, it's that low slung beeline, drawing in and relaxing. Now, you should be able to do this in neutral spine. It may be easier or tempting to engage your beeline and imprint your lumbar at the same time, okay? Which is fine, it's quite a natural thing to happen as the core contracts. It does tend to change the shape of the spine a little bit, but we don't have to. We can maintain neutral spine and just try and get that nice isolated contraction of core on and off. So just take 2 more goes, trying to draw in through that beeline, engage the lower abdominals, and releasing, and one more time. So we are going to try and feel the actual muscles. This is our transverse abdominis. I'll show you exactly where that is. You can stay laying down for this one, but I just want to show you exactly where to prod. You're going to take your fingertips onto your hip bones, which are the bony bits at the front of the pelvis. You're going to come in maybe 1 inch or 2, okay? So you're kind of just at the top of your pubic area. And then you're going to go down maybe 1 inch, so you're just either side of the pubic bone there. And just whilst you're lying down, you can do this. Give it a prod. Give it a squash. It should feel squashy, okay? It should feel squashy. That is muscle, relaxed muscle. Obviously, little layers of fat as well there. Just nice, fleshy feeling, okay? So hopefully you can feel that either side of your pubic bone. Now I'm going to ask you to start contracting through your beeline. So as you connect your left hip bone and right hip bone, or tighten up your belt line, and then press and prod, that should feel firmer, okay? Should feel more firm. And then relax your core contraction. Prod again, should have gone a bit soft, okay? So again, find your contraction. You can still do this lying down so that we're nice and relaxed and we can focus here. And then release your contraction. And just feel how the texture changes. Because as you draw in through the beeline and engage, you feel that firmness. That is your muscle on, contracted and engaged. So congratulations with that if you're managing to find it. It's really, really cool. Really cool. Feeling it in progress. Lovely.
So let's try and get some movement into this. We've got the basics covered. We're going to try and add in some movement and add some load. So again, you might want to take your hands onto your transverse abdominis. That might be a good place to find them. We're going to find our neutral spine, so that's not imprinting, not arching, somewhere nice and relaxed in the middle. Then engage the B-line, so you've got core engaged, and float one knee up above your hip to find your tabletop legs. Now, you might have imprinted your lower back here. If you have, find your neutral spine again. Re-engage your core, because lifting leg number 2 is going to feel a little bit more difficult. So now we are in what we call our tabletop position. Transverse abdominis should be feeling pretty firm here. B-line should be drawing in quite tight, quite nicely. So gently taking one foot back down and taking the other foot back down. And we're going to work through those marches. So neutral spine, engage B-line. You're going to lift one knee, check that you're still in neutral. Re-engage, lift knee number 2. Lovely, take one knee down and second knee down. And again, find neutral, find core engagement, drawing one knee above the hip. Re-engage, knee number 2 is heavier. That's it, and again, one knee down, 2 knees down. Good, take a little breather there. If you want to do a few pelvic tilts just to loosen off through the back, please do. Because there's a misconception that your core is just your tummy. It isn't, it's like a corset that runs all the way around your front, your sides and your back. So we do find that our back muscles can get a bit fatigued when we're learning to use this correctly. So let's go for a few more of those. Neutral spine, B-line engaged. Lifting one knee, checking that you're still in neutral spine as you lift your second. And then gently taking foot down to the mat and second foot down to the mat. And again, find neutral, find core contraction or B-line drawing in. Lifting one knee, lifting knee number 2. Lowering the knee, lowering knee number 2. And again, finding neutral, core, knee. Re-engage core in neutral spine as you lift knee number 2. Taking one knee down, taking the second knee down. And finding neutral, engaging core, drawing knee up, re-engage, knee number 2 lifts. Taking one foot down, taking second foot down. Final round here, find your neutral spine. Engaging through the core, drawing in through the B-line as you lift one knee. Are you still in neutral spine? Yes, re-engage. Lift knee number 2. Amazing. And gently taking your feet back down to the mat there. Now, if you want a little bit of a change of position, you're welcome to come and join me seated. We're just going to do a few gentle twists. So if you want to just start to take a few twists through the body, just to loosen off through the spine there. So I'm hoping this is making sense. I'm a big believer in learning by doing, with Pilates especially. It's all well and good learning theory, but unless you can feel that within your own body, I think it's quite difficult to grasp and understand why we do the things that we do. So that is your sort of lumbo-pelvic relationship sorted. It is you happy and familiar, hopefully, with your neutral spine and being able to actually support your natural curve with your abdominal strength. And your natural curve will be a bit different to mine, okay? It's all about just supporting your functional body. So we're going to talk a little bit about our thoracic spine, which is sort of the upper and mid-back area. And as you can probably imagine, there's a few sort of curves in there. They're less pronounced. If you imagine, you know, a doctor's skeleton in the corner of the doctor's office, there is a curve, isn't there, in the upper back, slightly more pronounced in some than others. And we are going to think about trying to keep that in neutral next. So let's get back down onto the mat one more time. Bring that head cushion if you need it. And lie in your Pilates rest position. Okay, so that's neutral spine, nice and relaxed. We're going to begin with an overhead reach. So you're going to take 2 hands up and overhead, and they're going to come towards the mat behind you. They don't have to go all the way, they could just hover above the mat there. And I want you to take note of what has happened to your chest it has probably lifted and popped up. Your ribs have probably popped up, maybe even flared open a little bit, and you might feel that your back has gone into a bit of a back bend there, okay? You might feel that in the lumbar, but there'll be a little bit of back bend in the upper back as well. So let's bring the arms back beside the body, and we're going to try and do a grounding technique. So feel your head on the mat behind you. Feel your shoulders relaxed into the mat behind you. Feel your shoulder blades there. And feel the back of your rib cage there if you can. That's quite important. Find a nice heavy grounding through the back of the ribs. There'll be a natural curve then where your lumbar curves away from the mat, your pelvis heavy on the mat, and your feet on the mat. So keeping that heaviness through the back of the ribs, start to take another overhead reach, grounding through the back of your rib cage. And that only goes so far. So you might actually not get to full range with your arms before you need to bring them back beside the body again. Lovely, let's have another few goes at that, keeping this grounding sensation of the back of your ribs heavy in the mat behind you. So just go quite slowly, quite thoughtfully as you start to explore, taking the arms into the overhead position. So again, if you imagine that bell in your rib cage that we talked about in standing, it's about keeping the bell quiet, keeping the bell still, not allowing the ribs to pop up, flare open. Bringing the hands back down beside your body. So think about your bottom rib, okay, the bottom rib at the front of your rib cage now. And I want you to think about the bottom rib almost trying to chase your hip bones. So imagine it's softening down towards your hip bones or trying to kiss your hip bones. Okay, and as your bottom rib closes this distance and travels a tiny bit closer towards your hips, you might notice that your B-line has engaged as well. So relax the ribs and then think about it's a very small movement connecting ribs towards pelvis. And relaxing and connecting bottom rib towards pelvis. So it's literally like your lowest rib is just trying to give your hips a little bit of a kiss and then relax. So let's add the overhead reach into that. So we are just gently quietening the bell. We're taking the bottom ribs to kiss the hips. And then we're going for our overhead reach, and you might notice your B-line engaging as your ribs continue to kiss your hips, and then gently bringing the arms back beside the body. Let's have another go. So ribs kiss hips, back of the ribs heavy in the mat as we go for our overhead reach, and that gets harder the further the arms go. Lovely, bringing those back beside the body. So kissing ribs with hips. With ribs and overhead reach and gently bring it back. So again, there may be a tendency as we take the ribs to kiss the hip bones and engaging the B-line, you might find that your lower back is imprinting into the mat. It's safe to do that, okay? I'm not too worried or concerned about that. But if we can try and keep neutral spine, we know that this strength is going to support a more functional positioning for our spine. So if you can, gently soften the ribs towards the pelvis a little bit without imprinting the lower back, and then go for your overhead reach. And then gently bring it back. And that should be really quite tough on the abs. We should have really good deep core control going on there. Lovely, let's go for 3 more here. Ribs heavy on the back of the mat. Bottom rib kissing hip bones. Hopefully maintaining neutral spine, but we're not too concerned if we're imprinting. It's a perfectly natural and safe thing to do. Last movement then, up and overhead reach. And then releasing. Okay, are you ready to combo what we've learnt today? We are going to find our tabletop legs again. So neutral spine, B-line engages, lifting one knee. Are you still in neutral? Maybe. Engage core again as you lift your second knee to tabletop legs. hands beside the body. We're going to add in an overhead reach, so your abdominals are already on. Let's kiss the ribs towards the hips and start with our overhead reach. Really nice. And then gently bring the hands back beside the body, maintaining tabletop legs for 3 more overhead reaches. Really good. So keeping your ribs softening towards the pelvis. Nice. Keep drawing in through that beeline. Good. And final time. And then just hug your knees in towards your chest to give your back a little bit of length and a little bit of stretch. You could do a few rocks and rolls here if you want to. So that's that combination of neutral spine and neutral thoracic with core support. So there's quite a lot going on, quite a lot to think about, and actually quite a lot of strength. When done with the correct technique, that should feel, kind of tough. It should feel like your abdominals are very much alive and present. Let's go for a final round of those because I want to make sure that we have definitely nailed that concept. Let's find our Pilates rest position, find our neutral spine, engage our beeline, and draw one knee to tabletop, re-engage core to lift second to tabletop. We've got the hands beside the body. We are softening the front of the ribs towards the hips, and we are taking our overhead reach just as far as we feel in control, bringing the hands back beside the body. So again, just keeping the rib cage kissing the hip bones as you take your overhead reaches. Good, let's go for 4 more here. Gorgeous. 3. 2. And 1. Really nice. Pop those feet back down onto the mat for me.
Now you might be wondering, when on earth was I meant to breathe? And don't worry, we are going to cover breathing at a later day this week. I think the breathing's so important. It's one of the fundamentals of Pilates, but it's really nice to know that you're doing it safely, and then the breathing can enhance the exercise rather than distract you. I think a lot of people mentally get so focused on when do I breathe in, when do I breathe out, that they forget to use their core, they forget what they're doing, they forget to get coordinated. So I like to bring that breath work in a little bit later in the program so that you can see how it will enhance your exercise. Now, if there's any questions that have come up from today, I know it's been quite a lot for the brain and the body, pop them in the comments. I will be looking at the comments. I'm very, very happy to get back to you and give you some more advice, or maybe even do another short video or something if you want to go into any of those concepts in more detail. You've got your little PDF here so that you can jot some notes down, see how you feel on those, and of course you're always welcome to revisit day 1 again and come back to this at any time. So I will see you tomorrow.